Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, today I will share you on topic 4, which is Java database connectivity. So, what are the subtopics that we will cover in this chapter? So, the first of all is overview of Java database programming. So, what is meant by JDBC API? Then what are the various JDBC drivers, the JDBC products, the two-tier server client model, how to set up JDBC connection to a database with ASP and servlet. Okay, the two last subtopic will be covered in the next video. Okay, so let's start. So let's look at the overview of Java database programming. So actually Java provides database programmers with the following features. So means Java can connect to the database. So when it's provide the database programmers with the features such as easy object to relational mapping, means Java's database connectivity allows you to worry about the translation of relational data into objects instead of worrying about how you are getting that data. Okay, and then database independence. The Java database application does not care what its database engine is. No matter how many times the database engine changes, the application itself need never change. And third one is the distributed computing. Java offers platform that allows application to call methods in objects on remote machines as if those objects were located on the same machine. Means we can implement distributed computing by sharing the same platform. Okay, so next, so let's look at the overview of JDBC. Okay, so what is meant by JDBC? Actually, JDBC is a Java API for executing SQL statement. Means when you want to deal with database, so you need a JDBC. So actually, JDBC is a trademark name and is not an acronym. So usually, JDBC is often taught for Java database connectivity. So it consists of a set of classes and interfaces written in a Java programming language. So JDBC provides a standard API for tools or database developers and makes it possible to write database application using a pure Java API. So what are the functions of JDBC? There are three main functions of JDBC. The first one is to establish a connection with a database. Number 2, to send SQL statements. And number 3, to process the results of the database. Okay, so JDBC also helps you to write Java application that manage these three programming activities, such as what? Connect to a data source like a database. You can send queries and update statements to the database and retrieve and process the results received from the database in answer to your query. Usually, there are four main functions we can use JDBC that relate to the database, which are CRUD, CRUD, create, read, update, and delete. Okay, so this is the sample of code that implements the three activities that we have mentioned in the previous slide. If you can see here, the driver manager object connect to a database driver and log into the database. Okay, that one is the number 1. Okay, this one, connection con equals to driver manager and get connection and call the database with the username and password. So second process is statement object, which is carry SQL language query to the database. Okay, this one is the number 2 process. Okay, we call the statement object stmt equals to con.create statement, and then you specify the queries. Okay, the result cell, object equals to retrieve the result query. Okay, so that one is the process number 3, and then the process number 4, while loop retrieve and display the result. Okay, that's why we use the while loop to access all the result that's stored into the database. Okay. Alright, so how to define JDBC API? So JDBC or Java Database Connectivity is a Java Application Programming Interface or API for interfacing with relational database, which means when you have a JSP or server and you want to connect with the database, you need a JDBC to make a connection. So the API will define how to connect the database, execute the SQL statement, and return the results among others. Okay, JDBC defines the API. The database vendors develop their specific drivers that meets the JDBC specifications. So JDBC is divided into 2 parts, core API and optional API. Core API is implemented in java.sql package and optional API in javax.sql package. Okay, so how to describe the various JDBC drivers? There are several drivers of JDBC. So we can see here there are 4 types of JDBC drivers. First one is JDBC ODBC bridge driver. 2, native API driver or partially Java driver. Network protocol driver or fully Java driver. And last one is thin driver or fully Java driver. So what is meant by JDBC drivers? Actually, it's a software component that enables Java application to interact with the database. We need the drivers to make a connection to the database. Okay. So the first one, this is the architecture of JDBC ODBC bridge driver. This is the first driver that being introduced. Okay. Right, and then the advantages of JDBC ODBC is easy to use, can be easily connected to any database, but actually it does not support the JDBC ODBC bridge from Java 8. So in order to improve or to enhance this function of JDBC ODBC, another driver is being posed. It is called as native API driver. Okay. And however, it is not written entirely in Java. Advantage of native API driver actually is upgraded from the JDBC or ADBC. However, it has several disadvantages. The native driver needs to be installed on each client machine. So we need some installation process in order for us to make the connection to the database. Okay, the vendor client library needs to be installed on client machine. So we need to install something or software or driver in our machine. Okay, so next one is called network protocol driver. Okay, so it uses middleware application server actually that converts JDBC calls directly or indirectly into the vendor specific database protocol, and it is fully written in Java. Okay, so this is the architecture. However, the disadvantages of this driver, we need a network support to make a connection, requires database specific coding to be done in the middle tier. So the network also need to be maintained. So the simplest one is called as thin driver. So the driver converts JDBC calls directly into the vendor specific database protocol. So that's why it is known as thin driver. It is fully written in Java language. So what are the advantages of thin drivers? Better performance than all other drivers. No software is required at client server or server inside. No need to install any software into the client machine. And then the driver actually is depend on the database that we choose or selected. Okay? So this is the architecture of the thin driver. Okay? Right. So next. So let's look how to identify the JDBC products components. Okay, so actually there are 4 components: API, driver manager, test suite, and JDBC ODBC bridge. Okay, so the first one, JDBC API plus JDBC driver manager are used to connect to a database and then build a Java program that uses SQL commands to communicate with a test relational database. Okay, while the JDBC test suite and JDBC ODBC uses in specialized environment to test web application or to communicate with ODBC, Aware DB MS. Okay, so there are a bit different between these 4 JDBC product components. Okay, so these are the details of 4 drivers, okay, which have been mentioned previously. So you can read it by yourself. Right, so next, describe the 2-tier server client model. So what are the 2-tier server client model? Okay, so this is the architecture of 2-tier client model. It has Java application and JDBC API and database. Okay, in the 2-tier model, a Java applet or application talks directly to the database, but it requires JDBC driver here that can communicate with the particular database management system being accessed. If it want to access something or data into the database, it requires JDBC driver. Okay, SQL statements are delivered to the database and the result of those statements are sent back to the user. Okay, the database may be located on another machine to which the user is connected via a network. So this is referred to as a client server configuration with the server machine as the client and the machine housing the database as the server. Okay, right, so next, the 3-tier server client model. So as you can see here, it adds another one layer here, which is called Java application. So in the server machine consists of Java application and also JDBC API. So if the user want to access the database, it needs to go through the Java application and also the JDBC in order to retrieve the data from the database. Okay. All right, so how to set up the JDBC connection to a database with JSP and servlet. So let's look at the explanation first. Okay, so the principles in building a web application using servlet plus JSP. So satisfying criteria. Okay, the code is simple. Why we use JSP and servlet? Okay, so it's quite simple compared to the other language and easy to maintain and also to understand. Okay, so the principles are never allow users to direct access to your JSP page. Okay, you just write a HTML page for the user to view or make a communication between the web application and also the database. And JSP is only considered as the place to display the interface. Open the JDBC connection and transaction management in filter. Okay, actually this one is optional. And then use the servlet, okay, to act as the controller of the application flows and program logical processing. Means what? When you want to develop a web application, so between the user and also the database, you need to write a web application by using servlet and JSP. Let the JSP and servlet control the request from the user and to access the data from the database. Okay. So I think we stop here first. Okay, how to make a connection, how to run the code, we will continue in the next video. Thank you.